One, two, three. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Entrepreneur Life Podcast, your go-to podcast for all things entrepreneurship, accounting, and lifestyle. Today, I have with me Camila Vivallo. Camila. Ay, ay, ay. Camila is from Chile. She's a graphic designer, certified in innovation, and a social entrepreneur, experienced in projects that cover high-impact social needs. She specializes in solving problems and pain points and creating better user experiences. Creator and co-founder of a social innovation developed on design thinking and human-centered design, she's motivated to leave a positive impact on this world and seeks to improve people's lives. So awesome. Welcome. I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So why don't you tell the people like who you are, where you're from, how you ended up here, a little bit about your background.
Well, hi everyone. I am Camila Vivallo. I'm from Chile. Well, how did I end up here? I met this amazing girl in school. I'm actually doing ministry school.
Mm-hmm. Here in California.
Here in California, in Redding, California. And yeah, I mean, what about this journey? Like,
where did you study? Did you always want to be an entrepreneur? What did you study?
Yes.
How did you end up going from like high school to entrepreneurship?
Oh, and that was a long time ago now. I know I look super young, guys, but I'm not as young as you might think. Well, I studied 7 years of graphic design.
Wow.
In college. Well, in Chile, you study for 5 years.
In university?
In university.
Wow.
Yeah, we're kind of crazy. And then I also had to I moved from school, so I ended up doing 7 years. Mm-hmm. And I always loved graphic design, but not because of what usually people think about graphic design. People usually are like, oh, you just make pretty things. And I'm like, no, that's not what design is about. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, my college had a great influence of Stanford, STVP. And
Stanford University? In the U.S.?
In the U.S.
Okay.
Yes. So all the programs they actually taught us from there.
Wow.
So it's really cool.
Yeah.
And they have this, the D school in Stanford. And the D school is the design school that is actually more like an engineer. So they treat design as an engineer, not as just making things more beautiful and aesthetically. Of course, it's a basis thing.
Yeah.
But the whole point of design is to fix problems.
Okay.
And so I was very introduced to this topic and things like graphic design is not just doing beautiful things
Canva.
Or just Canva or only I do love branding.
Yeah.
I love, and I was also very always very moved by the entrepreneurial world and the business side of things of just how you communicate things to people, how you can take a business to something else based on the storytelling and the branding and all those things. I love that. But then when I was introduced to this, it was hey, people are actually changing the world through design.
Wow.
And it's not because it's making things beautiful, but because they're actually solving problems.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow. So we had this design lab where we had all these things called ideas lab and things. And so we were exposed to this. And then as a final year of my university, instead of doing the typical project, final year project of the whole education, my university had this thing called an innovation program. So instead of doing
program.
Yes. So instead of doing this normal thing that you would just choose a topic and then develop a whole plan and design thing, I chose this innovation program where they taught us, and it was very challenging at that point because they made us do 2 projects in a year.
Wow.
So in 3 to 4 months each project. And it was basic, real projects, real problems that we had to find solutions.
Okay.
And so that's how it all started kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I love that. I was so moved by just bringing change into the world and somehow whatever I could do.
Very
I was
mission, impact driven.
Yes, exactly. Okay. And so inspired by so many different people doing these things around the world. I was wow, this is possible. There's people I don't know, in Norway or around there, they develop a way of making energy by just people stepping into different types of floor. Things like that. You're wow, this is real.
Very innovative.
really things that you like, wow, this could really change the world, but people just don't know about these things, or like don't get exposed to that.
Yeah.
So then it was just like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Like, I'm very excited about this, you know. And you had to be like chosen for it, and it was just really cool. I got in the program, and that changed my life. And the cool thing about this program is that it's multidisciplinary.
Multidisciplinary.
So it takes people from design, from advertising, from engineer, from business, and they put us all together, and they make groups. So we have to, like, they give you a challenge, and then you have to like face that challenge with the people in your group, you know, and with the different perspectives on like the things that they've been taught, you know, and that brings so many like rich things to it, you know.
All those different like backgrounds and vocations and ways of thinking.
Exactly.
Okay, that sounds fascinating.
Yes, and that's what I love about innovation. Like it's more about of a mindset, a different perspective on how you like see things and you face things, you know. And so they gave us this really crazy, I say crazy because it was very challenging. Yeah. This challenge of doing frugal innovation in health. First of all, health is a really, really hard topic and to get into anything. And then frugal innovation means doing something with really high impact and low cost. Okay. Which is super challenging.
Right.
And we had to do this in 3 months, right? So it was like, what?
And you had to make like a real world project, something that could be like implemented and given to the world.
Yeah. Okay. This is not like just a project. It's
not like a school project.
It's not just a school project. Okay. Like you're thinking, and that's what like like me and my partner, actually, like my business partner, like we always, and I always treated like university projects like as real life projects, like things, not just like as a university thing, you know? Okay. And so that I think also made a big difference on how we did everything.
Your approach.
Because we were like, this is real. Like we're not just doing this as a joke. Yeah. Like this is real. Yeah. You know? And so then we were like, okay, we had this giant spectrum of things that we could do with health, right? Yeah. So then we're just doing research and things, and like, okay, what could we do? And then we were visiting a hospital, like trying to raise like information and things. Like and research? Then like doing research and development, and then being like, okay, what are the bigger problems that we could like maybe solve? And then we'd run into this people group that were like, it's a really rare disease called butterfly skin.
Butterfly skin?
Yes.
Okay.
It's very rare and it's genetic, so it doesn't have a cure. Okay. And we were so moved by it because it was like, whoa, like they have the hardest time. And they like, it's a good thing there are not as many in the world. Yeah. But there's still a lot. Yeah. And because it's so hard, nobody does anything for them. So we're like, okay, whatever we do, we need to do something for them. Mm-hmm. And we're just gonna figure out how. Because everyone was like, oh, but there are not many, like, so it's not like a business. And so we were like,
the need is small, it's not worth.
It's a very niche, you know, it's very hard. We're like, okay, we are gonna make it happen somehow. We're gonna just figure it out. Yeah. And we did.
Is this how is this still a school project, or is this what morphed into a business, or these are two separate things?
No, that's how it was born.
That's how it was born. Okay, so why don't you tell people, like, what was your first business? I think this story is so cool and so fascinating. How did that turn into your first really entrepreneurial journey, and what was that business?
So, yeah, as I was saying before, like, we had this project, right? We had this challenge of doing this thing in 3 months. Mm-hmm. Crazy. And the thing about, like, human-centered design, as was, like, you were reading before, and design thinking, is that you learn so much about like the importance of the user and that you're designing for the user. Like usually when we approach in the regular way problems, something, we're just like assuming so many things. We have so many like this list of assumptions and we haven't really tested them. So we don't really know. We think that we know that these people have a problem, right? Yeah. But until we don't spend time with them and we don't really try to learn about them and like not just learn about the theoretical things, but like observe them and being with them. And there's like a series of different tools to do that and to approach them in a different way. So there's like this thing called like thick data against big data.
Thick data?
Thick data.
Against big data.
Big data is when you have a ton of data, right? Yeah. But it's just based on statistics. And it's not always
theoretical data?
No.
Okay.
It's real. It's actual data, which is good. Yeah. But there's so many of those data information that are like not actually 100% real.
Okay.
because it's the way you do statistics. It's just hard sometimes. But thick data is when you like you spend time with with people and like you actually observe and you go like deeper into it. So it's called thicker data because you get like actual things that you can do, and it's not reproachable. Like it's always what you're seeing, you know. People can like, because like usually when you like do like interviews and things like that, like people would lie to you.
Yeah.
Because just, and they don't even know.
They're not intentionally
They're
being
not
malicious.
intentionally lying to you. People will tell you like, oh no, yeah, this is what I do in a day. But then when you actually spend a day with them, you're like, that is not what you do in a day. And so that's why there's like this thing about like big data that it's like so many people, when you ask them, they will tell you something.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that it's actually what they
Wow.
do.
Yeah. Okay.
But when you spend time with people and you observe them,
yeah,
you realize like, whoa, there's something here.
Yeah.
So we use all these tools
yeah,
to approach our users.
Okay.
We went to this NGO that had like the people with this disease. So we spent time with them. We like talked to the doctors, the nurses, and everyone that was like the stakeholders in there.
Yeah.
And so we really like dedicated our time to spend time with them and understand the problem.
Okay.
You know, and observe and
Yeah.
like see how they did things. And
Yeah.
we were like so moved by them actually. Because like imagine this disease, they lack a protein on their skin.
Okay.
So if you do this, their skin just breaks. So they have wounds all over their body. They're in pain 100% of the time.
Oh.
Like it is heartbreaking.
sad.
And we were like, we really need to do something.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, what from our expertise, what can we do? Because so we're not doctors, so
Right.
I can't really like even invent like a lotion that would help. Like we can't do that.
Yeah.
But what is it that we can do to help improve their life in somehow, you know?
Yeah.
So then we just spend time with them. We're like, hey, what do you do in a day? Like what, like all those things. We observe them, and then we realized that what their pain point was for them, it was they really wanted to be independent, but they couldn't do it. So because they depend on a third person 100% of the time. Because like they imagine you don't have fingers, so you have.
They don't have fingers.
They don't have fingers because what happens with them is like because of the lack of the protein in their skin, they develop this like web kind of thing. And so their fingers get trapped under their skin. Oh. So they get like this.
Okay.
And so they try to do everything like this. So imagine like trying to get like your phone, like they're like normal people. So they want to like do things, you know, like, and it's so awful because like they can't, but they will try as much as they can to do things by themselves. But it's very frustrating. Imagine like they continuously drop things,
and
you know.
can't pick it up.
You can't pick it up.
What would you do with no fingers?
They keep trying, and you're like, wow, they are so intentional in being independent.
Wow.
And when we talk to them, they were like, yes, I really like, I get really frustrated because like it takes me forever to type something in, you know, like I can't really talk, like my phone keeps dropping. Whenever I eat, like I try to eat by myself, but my mom has to feed me. But whenever I can, I try to, but then like my fork will fall and like I would get like full of food, you know.
That would be so
frustrating. Like imagine living like that. And so we were like, we need to do this. And like, okay, in this program, innovation program, it was kind of crazy. They made us brainstorm 500 ideas to help them. And we had to like find like define problems, right?
Yeah.
And all these things. And like one of the really important things about this, it was like, even the point, like sometimes we don't think about it, but it's like the critical thinking parts of it. Like how do you even phrase a problem will like lead you to different ideas and how you can even like provide ideas to solve it. So like they make us like phrase the problem, and really we spent a lot of time just reframing and defining the problem and how you even like say it. And sometimes we don't even think about these things.
Right.
But the way you reframe a problem changes completely what ideas you can bring to solve the problem.
That's such a nugget for like any business. Can you say that again, just so it can like people can like absorb that? Like the way you reframe. What did you say? The way you reframe the problem. Yeah. The state, the problem you're saying like. Yeah. This needs something, right? There's a way to phrase that. Yeah. That can actually change how you approach the problem. Wow. And so all of these innovation things that like, for some people it'll be like, oh, this is like such a sweet story. It's beautiful what we did. Yes, for sure. But there's so many different things that we learn through the process. Yeah. That like, it's so important. Like how you even approach like a business plan. Yeah. The difference of like, I'm not saying that design thinking is the best. And like, it's
like there has like good things and bad things, of course.
Yeah.
Nothing is perfect.
Right.
There's so many things that can be better, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like the way of thinking, the way of you have to pivot, the way of like you face problems, the way you're not only like worried about the paper and just getting it right on the paper, but actually go into a field and be like, hey, is this actually an assumption or is it real?
Wow.
You know, and like that can just save you a ton of money and time.
Yeah.
Like so many times people just make like these giant business plans that they never actually tested. They don't even know if it's real. They spend so much time and money and then they go do it and it doesn't.
It fails, yeah.
It fails. And the thing is, the problem is not failing. The problem is like, and this is like the typical thing that like design thinking says, like fail, but fail fast and cheap.
Fail fast and cheap.
So you
That's
don't
good.
So you don't end up failing.
Yeah.
But very
so you can
expensive,
recover.
You know, you can recover and you can learn from it.
Yeah.
You know, the way it's like design thinking is like 5 steps, and then you go like you do the research, then you define the problem, and then you do the ideation, and then prototype, and then test.
Say that again. You have 5 steps of design
have 5
thinking.
steps of design thinking.
Okay, what the first one was research?
So what we did with like we first researched about the problem, the disease. We became experts on it. You know, we went to the stakeholders, do all the research. Then after we finally discovered and did all the need finding things, right? The tools.
Yeah.
We defined the problem, right?
Define the problem is step 2.
Yes, step 2. And then define the problem, and then we start the ideation, right? The brainstorming.
Is that step 3?
Step 3.
Ideation.
Okay. And then after, of course, they tell you to do like literally 500 ideas.
Wow.
Because what we do, and we could talk about each one of these steps in such more depth, you know? But the thing is that you go into like ideation, right? And our brains usually want to judge everything we say. And the number 1 rule in ideation and brainstorming is to not judge your ideas, no matter how stupid they might sound.
Yeah.
And it's so hard because sometimes you're like, that's so stupid. Like, why would you say that? But then you realize that sometimes a stupid idea with another stupid idea and another good one, they can actually
have
combine.
A baby.
Have a baby, yes.
Of a really good idea.
Of a really good idea.
Yeah.
And something that really sounds super dumb is like, hey, this actually is not as dumb anymore.
Yeah.
And so you just do that, and like, it's great. Because you can even like then have like other ideas for other stuff. But then you choose one of those. You marry an idea.
Is choosing the idea?
Well, that's
part of ideation.
Yeah, ideation. Okay. So then like you choose an idea and you marry that idea, right?
Okay.
But then of course it always changes. Like you marry the idea, but it can always like keep like you keep feeding the idea, you know? Yeah. It's never gonna be like just that. Like it always like keeps building up, and that's the whole beauty of it. And that's why like these 3 last steps always go like this. It's an iteration.
Okay.
Iteration. So you go like from
cyclical.
Yeah. Okay. So then like it never stops basically.
Yeah. Okay.
Because you go there, you get your idea, and then you prototype it.
That's step 4.
Step 4, you prototype it. You do it like in the most basic way, then you can actually see if this helps your user or not. So remember, like our whole thing was about independence.
Yeah.
Our problem is that we need to give independence. So we figured out so many different ways of doing that, right? But then we came up with this kind of like a glove. So because we had to think so many different things, you know?
Yeah.
It had to be something that wouldn't hurt their skin because it was a very sensitive point and extremely important. And we had to think that someone was light. Because we also like at the beginning were like, oh, what about prosthetics, right? Because that's like the most typical thing someone would think.
Yeah.
So then we went to the experts again, and then they were like, oh no. And like even the users, they were like, and that's the cool thing about this. Users are the experts because they're the ones in contact with the products.
That's a nugget.
Boom.
Users are the experts.
Yes.
Like you can talk to quote unquote the experts all day, but if the user says that's not the problem that I'm facing, you're wasting your energy.
Exactly. They are the ones in contact with your product 100% of the times. And believe it or not, this sounds like super obvious, right?
Yeah.
But companies don't really use it.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of ego there too, you know?
Yeah.
They're like, no, I
all
know.
the ego.
I've studied. I've had all the the nuggets. I know
Yeah.
everything, you know?
Yeah.
But then that lack of, it's true.
They're too far removed
They're too,
from
exactly.
the user.
And there's so many,
Yeah.
like I've worked with companies. They're like,
Yeah.
no, they even think, and they get it wrong. They get wrong, like even the definition of user.
Yeah.
They think their customers is their user. And not always.
Right.
There's so many times that customer is the one who purchased,
Yeah.
but the user is the one in contact with the product.
Wow.
And they're not always the same.
It's so interesting. You're reminding me of like when I worked at JCPenney in the buying office.
Mm-hmm.
And there would be so many times where like the executives were like, we need to set the shop up this way. We need to set it up this way. And we would come to the meeting and be like, okay, well, I was on a team with Nike, Mango, and Athleisure. And Athleisure is like, it's like athletic apparel. We were talking about this the other day,
Yeah.
right? But it's not like dry fit. It's just
Yeah.
for lounging, hanging out, whatever. And so a lot of times I was in the petites department. And so the person, like the athleisure, there were these different brands, right? Like Nike would be different from Mango, the store in Spain. And they had little shops inside JCPenney. And then this other one was for like older, like grandma type, right? But grandma wasn't necessarily the one who was buying, you know, it was usually maybe her daughter was buying on her behalf.
Yes.
So she was the end user. And some of the things the execs would say in these meetings were like, grandma doesn't care if it's too long, she's going to struggle. Or if, because she's kind of shrunk a little bit, if the torso is too long, it doesn't matter that it's a great expensive fabric. If it's too long, it doesn't,
Yeah.
she won't wear it. It's
yeah.
not comfortable to her.
Yeah.
You know, so it's so interesting exactly what you're saying. I feel like it can be applied to so many different industries, to so many different types of businesses, like literally everything. Who is actually the end user, and are you engaging with them? This is
Exactly.
great.
Because like and that's the beauty of, and that's how it's so crazy how all this happens so fast. Because I'm not saying that this is like the only way of creating things, but it's just a really good way. Because if you actually like provide the painkillers for your user, the rate of success is just gonna be massive.
Yeah.
Because you're actually providing a painkiller.
Yeah.
There's a pain there that no one has solved yet.
Yeah.
And if you solve it, people are going to pay for it.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Right.
Because they need it.
Yeah.
And so that's the next step. Like, okay, I could talk so much more about like design thinking, all those stuff. But what happened to us is that, okay, we did this thing, right?
Yeah.
We developed the product. We tested so many times. We did like different, like, we went to the users. They used it. They were like, what is this?
So what ended up being
this
the
is
product?
so simple. It's such a simple thing. It's a product, like it's like a glove.
Okay.
That we discovered magnets.
A magnetic glove.
It's a magnetic glove.
Okay.
And so these magnets have so much power.
Yeah.
And this thing can handle, like you can lift up things, you know, you can just, we put these metal plates into objects and these magnets that you can like integrate it in the glove, that you just do this. And like, for example, if I put the metal plate here, I just do this and then I can drink water. And it holds up to 2.2 pounds. Like the minimum, like it could be a little more too. And so with that, they can do like the
silverware.
Exactly. They can eat, write, brush their teeth, do whatever they want with this one. Like even some patients like put it on their bikes. So they could ride a bike.
They could ride a bike.
Yeah.
Wild. So this is like actually changing their lives. This isn't just like, she
first
can hold a fork.
The first time we went to test this with a user, when it was like more, like we just did like more developed and like we fixed the things that needed to be fixed.
Yeah.
This guy, he was like 14, I think. He has never grabbed a spoon by himself. He never ate by himself. And so we gave him this yogurt and we put a spoon to it, and like he tested out, like he put the name of our product was named Oliver because it was an O from orthosis. That is like what the product is actually named, like medically. And liber means freedom in Latin. So it was the orthotic that gives you freedom.
It's so special.
And it was also like, if you would like put it, like you would like see like you had like their tongue out, so it was like a character. So it was also like our main customers and patients were kids, so it was like branded for
almost
that
like
too.
A character.
Yeah, it was a character. Like a caricature.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really cool, and so he was with that and he couldn't stop crying. And like his mom was like, we all could, okay, honestly, we all
Everyone
couldn't
in
stop
the
crying.
room
We were
was
like,
crying.
what is happening? We were like, what have we done? Like, this is just, what an honor. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was like, this changed our lives. Like, even if it would have stopped there, like, that would have been like, I'm paid off, you know?
Yeah.
Because like, to see someone eating by themselves for the first time and they couldn't stop crying.
Yeah.
And the mom was like, he's never done that before. And he was like, this is amazing. This changed my life. It's like, and we can think like it's something so normal that we take for granted. Like, it's just like eating your stuff. It's something like some people can't do it. Yeah. And it's crazy.
Wow.
We even have one of our patients that she's actually like writing a book and writing a book about us because of how we changed her life.
Wow.
Like she's studying like to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
In school, and she's amputating in both of her arms, and she tried to use prosthetics, but like sometimes they're just really hard because like it's really hard to control them. They kind of feel like it's a toy. It's annoying because it's kind of heavy too.
Yeah.
There's so many different things, like not saying that prosthetics are bad, but like the really good ones are really, really, really expensive, and they have so many different things. So this is just like a really simple way of actually fixing the problem super easily.
Wow.
And so ever since she got Oliver, she improved her grades because she was able to pay more attention to class and not to be like this trying to write. Yeah. She can even she can take notes now in class. She couldn't do that before. Wow. And she's like, this changed my life. Yeah. Like even the way she can learn. Yeah. So it's wild. Yeah. And so there's so many amazing stories and things, you know, and like, well, because of this thing, back to the story. I'm sorry. I get excited about this.
We're here for it.
I get excited about this. But so because we did it with the user. Yes. This was so like successful in a way. Yeah. That, sure. This was just our end of the year project, right? For us to graduate from college. But somehow we did like this GoFundMe thing because it was part of the project. We needed to do like a video and things, and somehow somebody sent it to the news in Chile. So the video appeared on the news on CNN in Chile. Wow. So the people from the NGO and like the patients started to call to the NGO and be like, hey,
where do we get one?
Where do we get one? We need one. We were like, we actually just did it for school, so we don't have it. Like we can't make it now. So they were like, no, you need to make this. Like people need this. Like you need to do it. And so we still had like a half of a year of our project, like of our school, like the program. So we still had to like be in school and doing things, but at the same time, we just applied to every grant that we could find. Yeah. And we won them all. Wow. So we raised $23,000.
$23,000.
Yeah. So it wasn't that much. No. But it was perfect for us.
Yeah, what you needed.
So we could, so we built like 600 units. And we also wanted to do this like really like rounded, like as a social entrepreneurship. We wanted to do like good in every single part of it. Yeah. And so we were like, okay, who's going to build this?
Integris.
Yes, Integris. So who's gonna build this? So we went to different like family wives. So like for lower income neighborhoods. So like they really couldn't really work because of their husbands wouldn't let them. Okay. But they were really good seamstresses.
In Chile?
Yeah.
Is that common? Okay.
Yeah, kind of. In lower income neighborhoods, kind of. And so we were like, okay, we're gonna get this seamstresses to make our product. And so that way we also help them, and they're part of a project that is changing people's lives. Yeah. And they can also have their own money,
like fulfillment,
and fulfillment
and money.
Wow. And so
like
it was
micro entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing.
So it was really beautiful.
Yeah.
And so we train them, and they will make them. And so then, of course, we couldn't have them like if we would have made them in China, we're gonna make it like way cheaper. But we really wanted to give that part of like the whole cycle of things, of like being like purposefully caring for every part of the chain of the business. Wow. And
gosh, you're like preaching through the story right now. I'm loving this so much.
Yeah, so it was beautiful. Yeah. And so that was like a 5-year-long journey. We reached like, I don't know how many people, but we were like in 27 different countries. Wow. And
you're shipping like, to 27 different countries.
Yeah, so like in Turkey, the US, Australia, New Zealand,
And you're like, what,
Europe,
22 years
Austria.
old at this point?
No, we were 25 when we
25.
started.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're never
Yeah.
too young to start a business.
Never too young and never too old either.
Yeah. Amazing.
And so, yeah, of course, we were like in this privileged like season of our lives that we didn't have to sustain anyone. We were like still living with our parents, so we could do that.
Yeah.
And then also we won all these grants, so we could do it. But then it's really, they always say like it's really hard to start a startup in the beginning. Like entrepreneurship, it's hard.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship in health, it is the hardest thing in the world.
In healthcare.
Healthcare.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different layers of it. There's so much bureaucracy. There's so many different limitations.
Yeah.
That it was just really, really hard. Especially, we were only two. At the beginning, we were 5 in our team. But then we ended up only being 2.
Yeah.
And we were all girls.
Yeah.
We looked younger too.
Yeah.
And so
Getting people even to like
that
take you
is-
seriously.
Yeah, taking you seriously and not trying to hit on you.
Yeah.
And then
It's
like we
real.
were like, oh my gosh. So it's
I'm
hard.
here for business, not a date. Thank
Yes,
you.
exactly. And like a lot of people wanted to help us. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But it was a growing experience in so many different ways. And it was beautiful. It was hard at times, overwhelming too, because we're only 2. So yeah, one of the crazy and like, very important lessons, of course, build a team, a bigger team.
Build a team.
It's so important.
Yeah.
And literally choose well your business partner. Like I really have a great relationship with my business partner, but we did have different visions for some things. So it was kind of harder. Like you literally marry the person. It feels
Oh
like
my
you're
gosh,
marrying the person
yes.
you are like a business partner with.
I cannot
And
like,
so it's really hard
yes,
sometimes.
drill that into people's heads. You are
Yes,
marrying your
yes,
business partner.
Yes, it's hard. Guys, it's hard. And so, and the team part is like the basics, you know?
Yeah.
And just keep iterating things the whole time, you know? And like, of course, do not forget your user. Not because you started the product with your user, you're meant to forget about them. You still need to be completely in contact with them, like seeing how you can improve.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a beautiful experience. We grew so much, we learned so much. But yeah, then we both became 30 and we're like, we can't just, this is a really beautiful thing, but it's really hard to sustain. I mean, we did made it sustainable in a way of like, it's not only for the butterfly skin people, it's also for every single person that had a problem with their hands, that couldn't really use them, either if it was for an amputation or because they had like some disease that wouldn't make them be able to use them. So we then like created the version for people with fingers too.
Wow.
But it was just a really hard business in a way.
Yeah. I feel like the way that you've described it to me is even just dealing with all the people and the ideas and the back and forth can be kind of draining.
It's so draining.
And running a business generally is draining.
Yeah.
But add on kind of all the obstacles of dealing with
and
healthcare.
We learned by doing.
Yeah.
We were both designers. We didn't have the business experience or anything, background, you know.
Yeah.
But somehow we
Look at God. Yeah.
we kind of got it too by doing.
Yeah.
And just learning and taking different like steps, you know. Like I went into this incubator for 3 months in San Francisco. I learned a lot, but then also the same thing happened with the healthcare. People knew a lot about entrepreneurship, but didn't know about the healthcare. So it was like very limiting in so many things, because I was like, oh yes, I'm learning about all these entrepreneurship things and how to run a business, but the most important part and like most challenging, there are not many people that are experts in startups in healthcare.
Wow.
So that was a challenge right there, you know. And then we had actually some help from Chile too, like the government, like the startup business and things, but it was still really challenging.
Yeah.
And then I think it was also God in a way, and because so many different things to happen. Like, well, COVID happened. Right before COVID, there was a big social outbreak in my country where we had like big plans to implement this through Chile and like the civic centers, and they're gonna help us, and there was money for it, and it was amazing. But then the social outbreak happened, and then people started burning our cities. So then all the money that was from there went to repair the cities. So that project died.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened. And then since we used to sell way more outside of Chile, all the borders were closed, and it was way more expensive to pay for the shipping. And so like it was just really hard. And so we're like, okay, we're just gonna keep seeing how it goes from now a year, and they were like, no, we decided to close it. So like we learned a lot. It was a beautiful experience, but we really felt that it was a 5-year cycle that it ended.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I mean, like, we just have so much to learn from that.
Yeah.
And I don't even consider it like a failure.
Right.
Because like we learned so much from it, and we changed so many lives, you know.
Yeah.
Even if we would have changed just one life, that would have been enough for me.
Yeah.
And we changed about like 600.
Wow.
And maybe like in business wise, it's not like a massive number. We didn't make as much money as we would have wanted to, or anything to sustain ourselves. It's true.
Yeah.
We could have maybe in some other ways. True.
Yeah.
We could have done so much better and get like a finance expert. Yes, for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like, get a team that is expert in all the areas, because like you do need that.
Yeah.
You know, but also we're very thankful that we got the opportunity to do that and to bless so many people's lives, you know, and change them actually.
That is such an incredible story. And wow, like so many things that you got to learn along the way. You know, you got to birth this business in your 20s, which is so beautiful. You know, a lot of people don't have the resources or ability to be able to do that in their 20s because they're working, you know, to survive or pay their bills or whatever. What would you say to the person who, like you, built a business, but then for whatever reason had to shut it down, or it went bankrupt, or something went wrong, or their business partner broke up, or like something happened and they're really just like discouraged and feeling like a failure? You know what I mean? Like how would you encourage them? Or maybe were there some strategies that you were like, on days where I felt down, because we're business owners and that happens, right? But like, do you have any encouragement for those people, or just things that you did that you were like, this actually helped me really kind of revive me?
Yeah, well, first, I really hope this inspires you to dream big and do, like, there's literally no, like, limits for it. And even if you fail, you learn so much. And I feel like one key ingredient, and of course, the most important one that I think I didn't say much, God.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Like, every time I will be overwhelmed, like crazy, and be like, God, I just want to quit. Yeah. I'll be like, please show me, and I'll give it to you. Like, I don't want idols in me. I don't want this to become like a thing. Yeah. And I'm like, this is yours. You breathed it, and I'm just gonna like, this is yours. If you wanted to keep going, do something, and if not, just kill it. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. And every time I would pray that, something would happen. Wow. I'll be like, wow. And we got crazy favor, like crazy, like so many different contacts that would come, and like people wanted to help us, and just like every time I would pray that, like it was just God leading us, you know. And it was beautiful to see that we are not in control, and even if we decided to close it, like God still brings more opportunities, you know. And it's just a way of like learn. The most important thing is like to look back and see, okay, where did I actually could have done better, and learn from that. But then don't let that discourage you to keep going and to do something different maybe. And like, you don't have to start over like from scratch. You have to like look at everything that it's been in your life, it's for a reason. Yeah. And nothing goes to the trash, you know? Yeah. You learn from everything. And so no matter how old you are, just go for it. There's so many different ways, and just, there's so many different like, organizations even that can help you, you know, to raise funds, even if we didn't have any funds for it. I don't think I ever spent anything of my own money on it. You know, it was just favor. And like, when you're doing things with the right heart and because you want to help others, I'm not saying that that's the only way you can do business, but it's just like the doors just open when it's right, you know? When you're like walking in your God dream, you know, he's just opening doors that you could have never even thought to open. And it's the only fact of realizing that it is not you who's running this thing. It is a God-led thing. Yeah. And when you give him all, he will back you up. You know, it's not like about like, oh, this is my startup. I created, like, oh, this is mine, like all the glory to me. Like, no, I do not care about that, you know? And like, God knows that. And he's like, every time you just give him your dreams, he gives them to you back, actually. And even in a better way, you know? And like, he backs you up. He's like, hey, I got you. Yeah. And he just led us all the time, you know? Wow. Even if my Christian wasn't my partner wasn't a Christian, but like, I feel like she like got to know God in a lot of ways because she saw all the favor that God was bringing to us, and it was crazy.
Wow. How did that work? Like, if you're a Christian, you want to do things the way that the Lord is directing you, and you're in partnership with someone. I feel like this even applies to like a marriage, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I'm telling you, it's hard.
You're in partnership with someone who's not walking in faith. What did that look like? What did that look like in terms of language? What did that look like in terms of practicalities around how would you present things to her? You know, like, was she open? Would you be like, I feel like God said, or would you be like, you know, like what logistically, like what does that look like? Because I think so many people are in business, even if it's not in business, like maybe they're clients. Like for me, some of my clients are Christians, but some aren't. Yeah. You know, and what does it look like to operate in the marketplace with the Lord? Yeah.
Well, I was always super open.
Yeah.
And like super real.
Yeah.
You know, and be like, hey, like I'm a Christian. Like I really like I'm not like here and there. Like I'm Christian
in it.
And I'm in it. I'm sold out. Like God is my everything, you know? And like we were even like when I did first year in BSSM, like I was still in this, and like my partner knew, and she was like, yeah, okay, you and I just work from here, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just always super open. And I feel like that openness, like a lot, okay, it's not like she was like an atheist or anything. Yeah. But she wasn't like a Christian, you know, like she believed in God, but like, Yeah. But it was amazing. Like, I feel like it was like this open door for just the fact of being open and not being like religious about it, but like, hey, like, I wouldn't sometimes have to say anything. She would just see the favor. Yeah. And see the crazy things that would happen. And I would just share the testimonies and be like, hey. And like, she would just see it, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes you don't even need words.
Exactly. You don't need words.
People see the favor on your life. And you're like, what is it about them? Yes. That door is just open.
Yes. And like, just like a lot of things that would like keep happening. And I honestly, sometimes I feel like I was the one bringing like, just because I had God, it wasn't me. I was like, I'm the one that brings the favor. I'm the key component of like favor of the Lord, because like not because of me, but like it was just crazy. I was like, wow, like this, there's no way that this could have happened without God, you know? And I would tell her that, and she was like, yeah, that's right. Like, it's so true, you know? And so like, I feel like in the marketplace and places like as you said, you don't have to rub it in people's faces. Right. They would just see it. Yeah. You know?
Have you ever heard that phrase? I forget who said it. It was like, minister, and if you have to, use words.
Or San Francisco de Assis, I think.
Like, San Francisco de Assisi?
I think.
I can't remember the exact phrase. I might be totally like, butchering it, but
preach,
it was
preach. But if you have to, use words.
Yes. That's it. Yeah. And it's just preaching, like the way that you love people is a preach. The way that you operate is the preach. The way that you go about making business decisions is quote unquote like a preach. Like, I am not going to say yes in this meeting because I want to pray about it before I come back to you with my solution, or before I come back with a decision. You know what I mean? Just even the way, using the way that you operate,
just
bringing people into that experience with you, and bringing people into that process of like, you know, what does that look like? Like, even I'm, you know, putting all these mission trips on my calendar, and I have a new client just this week, and I don't know if they're saved or not, but I'm telling them, hey, just so you know, these are the weeks I'm going to be out. I'm doing mission work. I'm going with a Christian organization. We're going to serve people in these places, you know, and they're like, that's great, Katey. You know, we're so happy, you know, that's great that you're doing that, you know, and just letting people into, this is what I'm doing, and I'm doing it with the Lord, and just even telling them about it.
And it's just you being you, you know? Yeah. You don't have to hide. I feel like sometimes as Christians, we kind of played being spies. Undercover mission. And it's like, nobody needs to know who I am. Yeah. But who said that? Yeah. Like, I feel like sometimes we are afraid of like rejection, or people are going to like put a stamp on us or something. But hey, let them do it. Yeah. And then like, they will just see your life and the fruits of your life. Like, they will know you by your fruits, you know? And that's the whole point. Like, how else are they going to know? Like, we have such an amazing and real God. Yeah. You know? And that's the beauty of it. Like, you don't have to tell them, like, hey, I'm a Christian. Yeah. Hey, you have to do this. Like, no. You just, like as you say, like, hey, like, this is my life. I even, like, I do that sometimes with, like, my, like, freelance clients, because I'm a freelancer. And so, like, on Zoom meetings. And I'm like, hey, yes, I'm doing ministry school. you know, and like today I prayed for someone, they got healed. I'm like, what?
Wow.
Is that a thing?
Wow.
And he's like, yes, can I pray for you? So now you just like real and open, and if they don't want to, it's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm super open with my life, you know.
Yeah.
I don't have to hide it.
Right.
And like you never know what God can do actually with that. And they at least they're intrigued, you know.
Yeah. That is so like my heart too in the marketplace. Is like I just want people to be intrigued with my life, not because of me, but because they're like, how do you have this much favor, right? Or how do those doors keep opening for you? Or how do things that look like, I have so many stories of even like after my car accident being in this lawsuit, and the lawsuit was going on for 2 years, and they kept telling me, the insurance I was suing an insurance company. They kept saying, we're going to give you $1,000. And I said, no, you are not. You know what I mean? You're going to give me all 60 grand that I'm suing you for. And up until the week before, $1,000 for 2 years, $1,000. And I'm like, no, the Lord told me I'm going to win. The Lord told me I'm going to win. It doesn't make any sense. It goes against everything that we're seeing, but the Lord said I'm going to win. And then 2 days before we were going to court, I had a dream. And in the dream, the insurance company put a new team on my case, and the new team just had mercy on my situation. Not that I didn't need mercy in that what I was asking for was unreasonable. It was completely reasonable.
Yeah.
I was suing Progressive. Like, there was a reasonable cause for it, you know? But they saw the reality, and I mean, had mercy on me in the sense of like insurance companies usually always push back, right? And they were just like, she's right. And they were like, we're going to give you everything. And 2 days, not even 2 days later, my lawyer calls me and he goes, you are never going to guess what happened. And I said, let me guess. The insurance company called. There's a new team put on our case. We have a new adjuster and we won everything. And he goes, how could you have possibly known that?
Come on.
And I said, because the Lord told me in a dream 2 days ago. That's what was going to happen. And that's exactly what happened. And my lawyer was just like, there are so many times throughout the last 2 years where I told him, like, this is what the Lord said. And he's like, Katey, that doesn't look like how it's going to play out. And I'm like, I am standing on what the Lord said, you know? And sure enough, every single piece of that puzzle came in. I ended up getting even more than I thought I was going to. And it was just let your process be a witness. You know, you don't have to be like, do you know where you're going when you go to, when you die? You know, like, do you know?
Yeah. And exactly, you know, and like, it feels so personal to me because like God told me and like promised me like everything I do in your life, it's gonna be to show my goodness to people.
Wow.
And that's where like things happen in our lives, and even like things that will like, probably be considered bad things, God will turn it into good. Yeah. And I've seen it in my life over and over again. And that's why we're here, like to show people we have a real God that is good. Yeah. His essence is being good. But people don't really realize about that. Yeah. And that's why we have to be so like real. Not just like open, but real. Like God is moving in our lives. Why would we hide it? Yeah. You know? Yeah. Absolutely. And it's real. Nobody can tell you that what's happened. Like it's not real. Like I have proof, guys. Yeah. Proof. Yeah. So it's so beautiful. Like we're so honored to just be able to do that, you know? And like the marketplace is such a place for us to bring that. It's so important. So like, I love that.
And even like some of the people that you're working with, not working with, interning, that you're interning with here in the States or that you're partnered up with here, like you're learning even in other ways how in the marketplace you can bring that Jesus, bring that, you know, prophetic, bring that different ways that we can show up and show out without being religious, if that makes sense. Right? Like there's so many opportunities for people to learn, like, what does kingdom marketplace look like? What does kingdom business look like, you know?
How to do business with God. Yeah. Like people just think like business is a bad thing. Like it's mean, you know, like they have like this negative connotation to it. I don't know why. It's crazy and
it's aggressive. Like, it's cutthroat.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't have to be like that, you know. And what I've seen in innovation, and that this is like the crazy thing. I feel like there's so many like Christian core values in innovation that without even they realize about it, you know, like collaboration, just like the non-competition thing that we all help each other, like we can all win, you know, and like. It's not because like we're like competing with each other to like who's the best. It's like we can all win because we all want to like bring something to this world, you know. And it's beautiful. And so, and like, of course, like we have access to the mind of God as Christians, and sometimes we don't realize about that.
Yeah.
The Bible says we have the mind of Christ.
Yeah.
So we can access his thoughts. We can access his ideas, his plans, his brain,
his innovations.
Yeah. Like, I am pretty sure like all this innovation was in God's heart, you know. And like even like in college, I did that like so many times. I was like, God, what do I do now? Like, I don't know. I need to pick your brain because you're the most creative one. And I would get like designs. I would like see designs, and then I would just like get an A. It was amazing. And we have so much like available to us to bring goodness into this world and to show the goodness of God, so people can know how real he is. You know.
So beautiful, amazing.
So what better to do it than through businesses that can also help people, and they can like develop and like wealth, you know, and so people can like not perish, and we can develop new jobs, and we can do things, and it doesn't have to be with a greedy attitude.
Right.
It's to expand the kingdom and people's well-being, you know, in different ways.
There are so many entrepreneurs in the Bible, like even
so many.
You know,
God
like
talks
even
about
Paul
money so much
was
in the Bible.
A tent maker.
Exactly.
He was doing ministry, and he was also making tents.
Exactly.
Jesus was a carpenter.
Yep.
Like he was an entrepreneur.
Yep.
His dad was a carpenter. He was an entrepreneur.
Yep.
You know, even like Solomon, the wisest man in the world, did business and did marketplace, and it's not. I didn't grow up with this mindset, but I know a lot of people who have this mindset of like wealth is bad.
Yeah, like it's evil.
Yeah,
and the Bible
love
says,
of money is evil.
Exactly, but it's the love of money, not
yeah.
money itself.
Yeah, and just the Lord loves impact. The Lord
Yes.
loves mission. Like,
Yes.
I think when you're going into entrepreneurship, it's usually because one of two things: you want to solve a problem, right? You're mission impact driven, or you want to make money and not be starving, right? The only way to like have job security forever is to not work for a company, because then they're the ones who determine if you have a job or not. Whereas when you're an entrepreneur, you're the one who's determining if you have a job or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you have to come up with all the things that you have to do.
Yeah.
Nobody tells you what to do.
Nobody tells you what to
good
do.
and not that good too.
Yeah.
Because it's very overwhelming sometimes. Because you're like, oh, okay, I have to build my own agenda. I have to make up things that I have to do. Like, what do I do today? Okay, I need to figure that out. Like, nobody's going to tell you what to do. So that's one thing that can be very overwhelming too. But then it's really cool too, because nobody tells you what to do. You know,
it's a both and. We're here for the both and.
Yeah, we're both. Yeah.
Both and. Did you always want to be an entrepreneur?
I don't know. You know, I feel like maybe I was and I didn't know. And also, like, my dad is very entrepreneurial. And, like, maybe I kind of, like...
Yeah.
He always, like, was independent too, and, like, also worked like that. And even as a kid, like, yeah, I always, like, with my sister, would, like, either, like, sell chocolate in our apartment, like, go door to door, like, hey, we're selling chocolate. Or, like, selling lemonades, or, like, just doing stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like, one time, it was so funny when I was a kid. I was, like, maybe 9. We went to the beach with my family as, like, a vacation. And then, like, I went to the ocean, and I saw, like, this shell. It was so pretty, right? So I collected all the shells.
I could sell these.
Yes, I was like, I'm going to sell these. It was so funny because, like, I was like, of course, very young. I was like, these are so beautiful. I'm going to sell them. So I just collect them all. And then I put, like, this giant thing, and I priced them all, each one of them. I put stickers with the price on each, hoping that people would walk from there and buy a shell from me.
Always an entrepreneur. Always an entrepreneur.
Always an entrepreneur. Of course, my parents bought all the shells, and then we went, like, motorcycling. That's what I wanted to, like, the money for.
Yeah.
So that was, like, cute. It was funny.
Yeah.
But it's like that, like, desire of, like, hey, like, there's, like, wait, like, we can do stuff, you know? Like, just...
It's entrepreneurship is a mindset.
Yeah, it's a mindset.
It's a mindset.
Yeah.
And both my parents are entrepreneurs too. So I grew up very much. My parents were always like, you want money? Go work for it.
Yeah.
Like, you want money? We'll pay you to. I worked for both my parents growing up. But it's very much, it's hard to have a victim mentality and be an entrepreneur, right? Because the whole idea behind entrepreneur is like, I'm either going to solve a world's problem or I'm going to pull myself out of whatever situation I'm in and I'm going to start a business to get me out of it. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It very
I feel
much
like
is
perseverance
like
is a core value of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Because honestly, you want to like throw the towel so many times. It's like,
so many times.
And that's when you're like, please somebody tell me what to do. I don't want to figure it out.
Yeah.
But it's real. But then like there's like some person, but like I feel like there's also like this, it happens a lot that people like, not fantasize about entrepreneurship, but they make it like this thing. It's like, oh, like it's so cool.
This, like,
it's so
beautiful, shiny.
Like I'm finally gonna have my independence. And now, and I was like, well, it's not
hard. Hard work.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Like it's not like a fantasy of like, oh, I'm finally not gonna have to work from 8 to 5. I'm like, oh, you're gonna work 24/7.
Yeah.
Like, sorry to tell you, my friend, but maybe at the beginning you're not gonna have your
life,
like really freedom, like the freedom you're really looking for when you think. Because I feel like that's a real thing. People like
absolutely
think like, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur because I'm gonna have so much freedom. I'm like, no. I feel like it's kind of like when you get married too.
Yeah.
When you have kids. Yeah. No, you lose your freedom.
Yeah.
But it's good. The outcome is really good.
Yeah.
So it's worth it.
It's the long game.
It is the long, but it's a long-term victory. It's not immediate. And I feel like this world today is so focused on immediate things.
Yes.
And that's what we need to learn. Like perseverance is so key.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And it's actually, you're going to enjoy it way more because like you work for so long.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, and so it's gonna be so worth it, but it's not immediate,
right?
And like people, I feel like the mindset of today is things are immediate, like I want it now. Sorry, but if you want to be an entrepreneur, get rid of that mindset.
Not how it works.
It doesn't work like that. Yeah, but yeah, mindsets, it's a very important thing. You know, be teachable all the time. Like, be like self-taught. Just look for things. Go learn it. Just do it, and that's the thing. And I feel like I struggle with a little bit with that because like of being perfectionist and like being like, oh, I have to do it, like a fear. It's like, dude, Nike, figure it out. Just do it.
Yeah. My
Stop
phrase
overthinking. Just
for
do
the
it.
year is done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
That was my phrase for 2023, which we're still in.
Yes.
Because it's just being a perfectionist is great, but it's the wrong side of the coin. Spirit of excellence is the right side of the coin.
Exactly.
Right? Like you want to do things excellently.
Yeah, you want to do it right and beautiful and good.
The flip side of that is that perfectionism, which means it's never going to get done.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're always going to be fixing, always going to be tweaking, always editing, not actually putting out what you need to put out. Like just get it out there. Yeah.
Or
and then you'll learn.
Even frozen and be like, oh, I don't want to make any mistakes. Like, then you're not going to do anything.
Right.
You know, so somebody said that like Jimmy Darts was like in school the other day and he was like, said something so real. He was like, you know what? Stop thinking and waiting for like the go of something. Like just do it. And if you see something to stop it, stop.
Red light.
Like, God will give you a red light, but don't wait for like the green light. Maybe like you have it like long time ago, but you keep waiting for it. Just go. And if there's a red light, just stop.
Yeah.
But decide to go instead of just wait for it.
Yeah.
Because like it can happen to us. Like it happened to me for so many years. I was like just looking at my life and watching things happening, and I was like, why am I not doing what I really want to do? Because of fear.
Yeah.
Fear can stop you.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, don't let that happen. Like, just go for it.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
Amazing. So just kind of to wrap up a little bit.
We went all the way through rabbit trails.
Here for all the rabbit trails. If you could give our listeners like one thing, if you did this one thing, or here's one piece of advice that could really move the needle in your business, or kind of one piece of value that you feel like would make a big impact, what would be that one thing from your perspective?
Keep the user needs above things.
Prioritize
the user needs. It has to balance with the finances, of course.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, you will think that because you're caring too much about the user, like it's gonna affect your finances. But in the long term, it's gonna affect it in the really good way. And so maybe it's again like the immediate things are not worth it. Like wait for the long term. I feel like that's a very like if I would want someone to what they can get out of this conversation.
Yeah.
Of course, perseverance.
Yeah.
It goes along, but understanding who you are selling your product to not just buying it, but who's going to use it, who's going to engage, so you can have a way better outcome and success rate from it.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't think I've ever spoken to anyone, especially not on this podcast, but even just in life really, who's really into design thinking. That was really amazing. I'm going to like go home and Google it and just like learn more about what is design thinking. That's why I love having people on the show who are from like all different niches, you know, because there's all these different ways of approaching. I'm an accountant. Nobody in accounting thinks design thinking, right? Like people in accounting typically are not innovators. And so that's why they go to accounting conferences, right? And at the accounting conferences, they're constantly pushing us innovation. Here's what's new. Learn AI, do all these things, right? Because accountants by nature are not usually innovative, or they would be in a different career. You know what I mean? Yeah. So even just learning about that, I think is so interesting and just something I want to learn more about. So thank you for telling us about that and sharing with us your journey. And it's been so fun having you here. I feel like I even learned so many things about you, which is super fun.
Yes.
So
thank you so much for having me. It's just been really, really fun.
Oh,
I am very passionate about talking about these things, so I could talk all day. I love it. So yes, I'm here for it.
Amazing. So, yeah. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode of the Entrepreneur Life Podcast. Remember, today's a great day to start a business. Bye.